On March 29, 1966, during the Vietnam War, the United States launched Operation Abilene, which was a search and destroy mission targeting the Viet Cong 274th and 275th Regiments of the 5th Division and their base areas in the Mau Tau secret zone. The operation was conducted by 2 brigades of the U.S. 1st Infantry Division, while the 1st Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment and 161st Battery of the Royal New Zealand Artillery were also attached to the Americans. However, the VC largely avoided battle and contact with the sweeping U.S. brigades, and contact was rather light. Therefore, the operational plan became to lure the Viet Cong out to attack the isolated Charlie Company of the 2nd Battalion of the 16th Infantry Regiment in the 1st Division. So basically, these guys were to be used as bait. And when the attack would happen, the plan was for other rifle companies to come in and destroy the VC. The next phase of the operation began on April 10, 1966, with soldiers of the 1st Infantry Division moving into positions between Saigon and Vung Tau in search of the elusive VC 800th Battalion, which had a strength of over 500 men. But unlike previous operations, however, Charlie Company numbered only 134 men because of casualties in other missions. So we have 134 Americans being used as bait for over 500 Viet Cong soldiers. The Battle of Gia Cam Mai took place the next day as Charlie Company moved through the Courtney rubber plantation, where they encountered sporadic fire with VC snipers attempting to knock the Americans off one by one. The sporadic gunshots and fire allowed the Viet Cong to maneuver around the outnumbered Americans, and by 1400 or 2 p.m., VC officers were directing the encirclement of U.S. positions of Charlie Company. But by that time, it had become clear that the VC had taken the bait to attack Charlie Company. However, General Dupuis' gamble on other rifle companies arriving in time was thwarted by the thick jungle, and they did not come in time. Charlie Company therefore walked right into an ambush, but to minimize these casualties and break from the Viet Cong ambush, Charlie Company formed a circular perimeter with interlocking fire. The situation further deteriorated as Charlie Company found itself increasingly isolated, with only a distant hope of reinforcements arriving. The situation was made even more worse when misdirected artillery fire came upon Charlie Company instead of the aggressive VC forces. Helicopters were also initially unable to provide support due to how much fighting was going on at Gia Cam Mai. But eventually, the 38th Air Rescue and Recovery Squadron arrived to evacuate as many wounded as they could. The brutal fighting continued well into the night, with Charlie Company desperately throwing everything that they had at the aggressive VC using grenade launchers and tear gas grenades. However, their efforts were not enough to stop the VC from breaking through their lines occasionally, and through the night, small units of the Viet Cong 800th Battalion breached the American perimeter to retrieve their own casualties and slit the throats of any American soldier that was wounded who they saw along the way, committing average communist war crimes. After 5 hours of brutal fighting, what was left of Charlie Company formed a tight perimeter protected by a barrage of artillery, which finally came down at a rate of 5 to 6 rounds per minute on the Viet Cong. By 0700 or 7 a.m. on April 12th, the VC failed to overrun and destroy Charlie Company. The Communists then decided to disengage from the battle before other U.S. units could arrive and fulfill their objective in decimating the VC. Lasting for 14 hours, the Battle of Gia Cam Mai saw American forces successfully hold off 3 massive human wave assaults by the Viet Cong, killing 41 to 80 VC and wounding 71 up to 100 more. The 134-man Charlie Company suffered an 80% casualty rate, and 37 Americans were dead. The U.S. were constantly barely holding off the greatly numerically superior VC, but did so against all odds, especially when they were in the dark the whole time. Operation Abilene concluded 3 days later on April 15th, with multiple supply caches being captured and more than 50 Viet Cong bases destroyed. Although the Viet Cong claimed victory in the battle, they were unable to mount an attack onto Saigon for another 2 years until 1968 with the Tet Offensive. The U.S. losses in the Battle of Gia Cam Mai included 2 posthumous Medal of Honor recipients, being Army Sergeant James W. Robertson Jr. and Pararescueman Airman First Class William H. Pitzenbarger, who came to the battle to evacuate wounded soldiers with the 38th Air Rescue and Recovery Squadron. Both Robinson and Pitzenbarger would have to have their own video to tell their stories properly, so let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. Did you know about the Battle of Gia Cam Mai and Operation Abilene before this video? What other aspects of the Vietnam War would you like for me to cover? Write in the comments, and thank you for watching.